Welcome everyone back to the Firemanship Podcast by WCO. As always, I'm your host, Cameron Monahan. With me today again, Colin Kelly, Mark Carcamo. Welcome, gentlemen.
Not in that order.
Good afternoon.
What are we talking about?
Last episode, we talked about Apparatus Spec. Kind of wanted to hit on a couple more parts to that. We talked about hose beds, cross lays, some TDA stuff.
Talk about the hook
That guns, the hook. Yeah, we could talk about hooks.
and the way you carry it.
Yeah.
Now, if you carry it wrong, you're a piece of shit human being. Apparently. Sorry. That's equipment. We're talking about not equipment spec, apparatus spec. Gotcha. Chat.
Apparatus Spec.
Go ahead.
We won't criticize anyone that hard. One thing that was hitting on that we didn't hit on last episode was that I wanted to hit on was your tip of your aerial device, and I think it's one good thing that they've done with going to LED lights away from halogen lights is be able to reduce the footprint of your tip with these small little lights that come on your aerial device without having these big halogens at the end. Mark, you come from an area that is all straight stick TDAs. What else about those tips you see that get maybe clogged up, too much stuff, too much equipment on them, and how does that deter from operations?
Here's the thing. Each one of those sections, from the main to the intermid to the outer mid and finally to the fly section, narrow out for a reason. So when that ladder's retracted, obviously you can put it away and put it to bed for the night. The issue that I see is when your fly section has so much shit on it that it's wider than your main section, that's an issue. Because remember, when that thing gets 30, 40, 50 feet away from you at night and you're trying to pick trees or wires, how is that accomplished when you got this thing that's got 16 inches more crap on either side? It just, to me, anything that's above the rail to me is bullshit because you can't see it and you have to make an adjustment. I see on my department, especially, they put this gigantic LED halogen, whatever the hell, it's multifaceted light and it's above the rail. And I'm going, what is the purpose? Mount two small, 6-inch square LED lights on either side of it. And how I got around that was I had my mechanic mount two decent sized LEDs on the main section. So anywhere I was going, that I'm pointing that fly section, the main section's doing the same thing, and it's not going to hurt anything. It's lighting up that building like I need it, and there's less cluster at the top so that I can perform without going, okay, how do I do this? Does somebody have to go to the tip? You want that shot to be a straight shot with no interruptions, and that's just my take on it. It's like, stop putting so much shit up there that you're actually counter intuitive to what your operation is, and that is get that tip to the roof as fast as possible and as safe as possible with no hiccups and nobody going, okay, I'm going to go lift a line or, and conversely on that thing is make sure that you guys, Colin, I think has been doing a couple of posts that I've seen lately and go back to, yeah, I love that people store ladders on the main section, but that, also becomes a parapet ladder. Now somebody has to carry that up. That's a delay. Right. And I'm going to bet you that ain't the first guy going up the ladder. So now we got to figure out how we're going to do that when the guys who have equipment and they're passing it on. Mount a collapsible ladder and the tip, if you can do it, up in that fly section. They collapse, they sit in there very easily. They take up maybe 2 or 3 extra inches away from the inside rail. And it allows for that thing to be deployed very quickly as needed. A double D punch stick. I mean, I know we're getting kind of out of the weeds on that and go. I think if you look at how LA City has done that, that is one thing that I am very impressed that they've taken an idea and said, now it's spec. We have to have these things in the fly section, right? But then they are kind of counterintuitive because now they're mounting all this other bullshit on the end of it, and it's like, I don't know. I hate seeing that because I'm going, I know how fast I wanted my ladder to go up without hiccups and without aid whenever possible. And that was my job. And it's like, I want to have to stop to go up there and flip a fucking light down. It's not just, it's like, hey man, why are we bringing a ladder? Kind of like we were talking yesterday. Let's bring this fucking, start playing with the, no exterior ladders. It's bullshit.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And we switched around our aerial device the same way with that collapsible attic ladder at the tip, and the long punch in there. But just to touch on what Colin was posting earlier with those ladders coming off, right? If you're trying
I
to,
didn't post anything. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
somebody posted, um, with those roofers coming off of the aerial device like that, it just puts you way too far out in that roof line. So with that collapsible ladder on it, when you're coming up and you hit a parapet, larger parapet than you would have thought to have hit, just having that collapsible ladder makes all the difference to be able to get straight down and stay on that load bearing wall rather than shoot yourself so far out.
If I may, that topic, the whole parapet ladder deployment thing. There's again, I saw a post this morning about. First of all, let me. You opened up with tip of your ladder,
Yeah.
lighting package. My ladder went from the fly section width of 24 inches to this light package that this chief mechanic was so eager to install. He's long since been gone, thank goodness. But it ended up taking the ladder width to 54 inches. 50, actually, because of the lighting, 57.5 inches. This genius, let me start. This individual spec'd, this is what happens when non-operational guys are speccing your equipment. That's not to say that the mechanics don't have a say-so. And I asked this last show with Mark, they damn sure need to say so on the powertrain, on, on which transmission, even the pump mechanics and all of that stuff. Even to some extent, the aerial ladder and its functionality, the HVAC, what size. However, the suspension, when it comes to the lighting package, and in fairness, that's why I'm taking back my statement. Let me take a breath here. Maybe he didn't realize, but he spec'd this lighting package on the tip of our ladder. If this is the aerial uprights, right, that end up the handrails, he spec'd spotlights on each side of that were rectangular in shape, not circular, small LED or square spot. They were rectangular on each side of that. Now you understand when I say we went from 24 inches to 57.5 inches. Come on. Let's get some input. So yeah, what you spec in your light, do you honestly need a light on each side with the power of these lights these days? The off-road industry has pioneered light packages, low profile light packages, and we should be taking the page from their book when it comes to our aerial ladders and just our rigs in general for low profile apparatus lighting. Dallas Fire, man, their truck companies, it's an awesome thing, right? The entire side of each side of the truck has a 2-inch tall, 6-foot long LED bar that is literally on the top of the apparatus at the top of the compartments, where it now goes from paint to diamond plate. It's right there. It's never stepped on. It's out of the way. It's a 2-inch by 2-inch, it's 6 feet long. Man, you pull up on that side is lit up, and they have that on the front. So we just need to, if you're speccing lighting, look at these off-road industries, the off-road, manufacturers, the aftermarket lighting. They've got that stuff figured out, man. We should be taking a page out of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but in terms of the parapet ladders,
yeah,
and you mentioned the posts, there are individuals that are, they mean well, but they got these young guys that are working in places that aren't seeing much work, but they're so hungry. And I'm guessing here, I don't know what's going on in their heads, but they just want so badly to be, viewed as a fire service, expert, knowledgeable, name and lights. They want their name up there with, who have Mark Carcamo, and
I don't think so. I'm going to call bullshit on that, but go ahead.
and they're putting out stuff because they lack the depth of knowledge and experience. And experience is the thing that breaks them, that shoots a hole in their message. And they're sending out messages and posts that are putting firemen in needlessly dangerous situations. And the way, you know, we're getting away from apparatus spec, but you guys start talking about the parapet ladder deployment thing. Knocks us down. That's bullshit, guys.
That is a spec.
Manufacturer upgrades you and sell you this heavy ass bracket that you have to mount to your aerial platform to deploy your roof ladder. When the roof ladder is, when that whole thing is spec now because of cantilevering the bucket, they want the aerial, the parapet ladder, it has to be vertical, not touching the roof deck. That's why you're seeing this bucket way up 6 feet, 8 feet up off the parapet to allow the aerial, the roof ladder vertically down. Who the hell have you ever climbed a roof ladder vertical? I have, with equipment and a bottle. It's a bad thing to do. We should never do it.
Yeah.
So you don't need to spec and buy this overpriced, over-engineered piece of equipment when you can just set your parapet ladder to the right or left of your bucket or aerial ladder and just go down naturally.
Mhm.
I mean, it's craziness, man. God, we need firemen have to take back control of their apparatus spec.
And I think that goes
If the
back
guys
to-
need help, come hire us. We'll help you spec your rig gladly.
And remember, it comes back down to basic operations, and that is you kiss your ladder to the roof, which provides you the ability to transition to a ladder not straight in line. Because, like Colin said, if you're trying to get off on that thing, it's an act of God. Now you got to leave in a hurry and tell me how you do that. Think about that. I always try to tell guys, hey, you're going up and you're getting on there. Now, how do you get out in a hurry? How does that feel? How does that look? Right. So keep those things in mind when you're, whatever operation you're trying to accomplish, whether laddering and going in windows or onto parapets or on fire escapes. How does that look when all hell breaks loose and you got to get back off? Keep that in mind. It's easy sometimes going up, not so easy getting off.
If I may throw this out there, I know this is not Mark's purview and maybe not yours, Cam, but I've got some experience operating in my city on platforms as well as aerial ladder. And I got to tell you, in terms of, I'm going to breeze over this real quick. In terms of specking a bucket, if you're hell bent on specking an aerial platform, a bucket, please make sure it's a mid mount. Please make sure that your bucket has chamfered corners. It's rounded. It's not this hard square. It doesn't fit into those tight little, if you have to make a window rescue, or if you're trying to fit it onto a parapet, those rounded corners where the doors open to get out to exit the bucket are going to be more operationally effective and beneficial for the firefighters and safer. You know, you shouldn't spec a bucket. Why are you trying to fit a crew of 4 up into your bucket? Why? For what reason? Right? Your bucket should fit 2 guys. You need to be able to get 2 guys in there. And there's some buckets some manufacturers do a great job of this. And then again, firemen are their own worst enemy. And then some manufacturers do a terrible job of this. So mid-mount, as small a bucket as you can that fits 2 guys, and make sure that those corners are rounded, not hard right angles. That's just a poor design. Make sure the rear of all your aerial apparatus have chamfer corners. If you're not going TDA, if you're going straight chassis, at the back of it, chamfer the corners. Make sure you've got ladders to get up to the bucket, to the platform, to the pedestal, the other P word, from either side, because if you throw left and your only means of getting to the pedestal is on the left side, you screwed yourself, right? I worked on a truck years ago where the only way to get to the pedestal was up a rear ladder. And it just so happens that my operators at that time were hell-bent on throwing off the front or the rear. That's the only way we could do it, because that's what the manufacturer said is the strongest point for the aerial ladder. That was an educational thing, but it made it very difficult on several fires to actually get up to the pedestal, because I had to wrestle with the ram. I mean, make those little things are important when you're trying to spec this rig that maybe you haven't thought about or notice on a fire. But anyways,
No, I think
you want to get that out there while we're on this topic.
Yeah, you made a couple of good points, because I think those are real like, rear mount aerials. We've seen rear mount aerials that have a single access ladder on one side, and you're right, roll it off to one side and you eliminate being able to get up there easily. Now you're having to do some scurry up by the pump panel or something like that on a quint, or going around the aerial devices that's shooting over the ladder. So access ladders from both sides. The other great thing about a mid-mount tiller is that, hey, I can load that turntable. That turntable sits quite a bit lower than my floor mount, and I can load that thing so much easier
That's a great point, Ken.
with tools. And
How
even
about positioning it or spotting it?
yeah,
I only got to spot 6 to 8 feet back versus 40 feet back. I mean,
a lot easier to spot that turntable. So there's a lot of things to take into account there. What else though? And I've never been around platforms. I've been around them. I just never
I want to say this regarding buckets and that mid mount versus rear mount.
Yeah.
Because of the design, if you go mid mount, you're going to have generally speaking, you're going to have a smaller chassis, a shorter chassis, not smaller, shorter chassis. Again, easier to spot, easier to get into places. And mid mounts, you have the ability to extend less ladder out and get that thing to the ground with a minimal amount of ladder out.
Yeah.
You know, the Pierce Ascendant mid mount, 28 feet. There's literally no extension. Raise that thing up, hard right angle, down on the ground, right? Versus the Pierce rear mount bucket, 75 feet for me to get it hard right angle throw down touching the ground. 75 feet, 72 feet, 75 feet.
Yeah.
I measured that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't allow you to do that. It makes you extend.
Yeah.
So that's a major, major difference between mid mounts and rear. So
Yeah.
I think we when we cut out from our last session, Cameron, we had talked about after we had turned down about also we were talking about lights at the end of the aerial and all these whistles and whatever, but also we were talking about cab heights and how in a tilted rig that affects the throws that are going to go over that cab.
Yep.
You get that step cab where they got the, hey, we want the guys to be able to stand up in the rear. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, comfort's one thing, but comfort's the enemy in some cases. You have to keep that in mind. And when I threw and I prepped my rig in the morning, I had a couple of big quartz lights sitting up there on either end of the back of the cab. And one of my things when I did my inventory in the morning was I folded those lights down because they got in the way. I've actually had to take a light down to make a throw. And I did it purposely to fold them down because it's like, I know they got in my way. I don't want to have to stop again when I'm in my swing and going, okay, now what do I do? So now you add the fact that you bump the cab up 8 or 10 inches in the rear, just create a new issue for yourself. That's another thing that if I could say one thing about guys that are spotting it, if you're going over that cab, you need to get closer than you think you really need to be in order for that to work correctly, because it doesn't seem like it, but it eats up ladder.
Yep.
Right? Guys have this thing like, hey, I can see the building and it looks good. The closer you get, the better off you're going to be, and that's going to make that climbing angle, a little bit higher.
Well, you're essentially talking about throwing over the cab, right, Mark?
Yeah, going over the cab or right or left of it, right? You got to get that cab as close to that building or your objective as you possibly can.
I mean, go ahead and just subtract the length of your chassis right off the aerial ladder, more or less. I mean,
yep. So those are lessons that are learned. And again, I say, watch that spec, man. If you got that bitch and rig and it's got a step up and then they put an air conditioner on top of it, you may take yourself out of a lot of games. And now you're going to have to compensate even more because you need that ladder to be at a higher angle. So you're going to have to nose that thing even closer. Keep that in mind.
That flat cab, that's an operational decision over maybe a comfort decision, right? It's getting that aerial down because you can't kick the cab out of the way when you're throwing that aerial forward on a mid mount like that on the TDA. Plus, two, I think if you can work with your manufacturer on this, it seems like they want to throw those interlocks further and further out. So that cab contact interlock that tells the computer, hey, you're going to hit the cab, seems to be so far these days that if you can talk to the manufacturer and say, hey, can we shorten that up a little bit so that we can get that aerial closer to that cab on these forward throws, I think would play dividends, pay some dividends to you on the end.
Well, hey, do you think, that's, and I'm going to throw this out because Colin mentioned it to me probably a year ago or something, and we're talking about that they have a camera to spot your jacks for you.
Oh.
And then they've got this interlock that tells you you're getting close to the cab. And I'm going, they're purposely dumbing down the fire service. That's my belief, right? You don't have to do anything. Hey, I look at a camera. Let's make a drive-through station. That's bitching. Except for if you've never backed an apparatus and you don't have that skill set, it's not going to magically come to you when you're on the fire ground.
Yeah.
Right. And the same goes with when the camera goes out, then how do you spot the jack?
Yeah.
And when the fucking interlock goes out and it says, hey, it goes haywire and says, hey, I'm not going to even let you go that way. I'm going to lock you out. And I'm sure there's a bypass. I haven't worked on a rig like that, but it's like, why don't they allow people to develop skill sets like we used to? And I'm all for technology, but I'm also for what happened when technology doesn't work. Do you possess that skill set?
I think that we, the end user, the firemen, are responsible for this dumbing down. A good portion of it, not all of it, but I really think we are. We don't put in the effort to actually know our shit. Our departments aren't, maybe they don't know what they don't know. And so we're not getting the training from our departments on what we don't know. And so it's incumbent upon you as a firefighter to get out there and see what's going on out there, which is the good side of social media, which is the good side of those training conferences, although that has taken a marked decline in quality of education. That said, I think we're responsible. We as the firefighters, we are responsible for wanting shit easier to do, less thought into it. We want that. There's skill set, Mark. You use that term all the time. We can't understate what that means. And we as a fire service, I'm sorry, man. We've been around, right? We've taught a lot of classes, a lot of places. Overwhelmingly, the American Fire Service does not have a strong skill set. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and say that. I'll be that guy. Whatever. So I think that when the apparatus manufacturers are consistently hearing, oh, we want the pre-connected host, we don't have to estimate the stretch, all these fail safes for the aerial ladder, the computer overrides, the auto level. I mean, come on, we're guilty. We own part of this.
Yeah, I would say that because, when you go through the history of rigs, and I'm going to date myself, is I came on a job and we had manual jacks still. That was horse shit. Sorry, right? As far as that time and what it did to throw the aerial ladder, it was like a month of Sundays. But the beauty is I got to see how rigs developed and became better and better. But now I think they're getting to a point where, like I said again, it does 1,000 things half-assed. It doesn't really do its operation good, right? And that's us. I think you're right, Colin. You've hit the nail on the head. Is it laziness? Is it lack of wanting to learn? Is it the powers that be saying, hey, we're getting rid of all the old A-type personality people. We don't want that style of firemen anymore. I mean, I think it's probably a combination of all those things, right? But as a young person on that job, look at the rigs now. Hey, stick shift versus automatic. There's a reason for that, right? Yeah. There's a reason for that. How about, hey, don't lay the aerial on the roof. On an old Seagrave, I could drop 200 pounds off the bottom cylinder to square it off. I'm torquing that fucking thing in there. Now, you're stay a foot away. It's like, why? Why? You climb that and then tell me stay a fucking foot away. You unload off that thing and tell me stay a foot away. I bet you when you see what I do and kiss that roof, you're going to go, thank you for doing that. And I don't care if you're a manufacturer, if you're a fireman, or if you're a captain, you're going to want to thank that guy to go, man, you just made this whole operation safer, right? It is. And it's counterintuitive because you got to know that you can't, like Camp Colin said, cantilever it in there because the pressures are a lot higher now for hoist and lowering than they were on the old Seagraves. It's 900 to 1,100 pounds. Well, that ain't much. And then you take off another 200. So you're at 1,300 pounds. These new ones are 2,000 pounds, 2,800 pounds. It's like, you could fuck some stuff up. I understand that. But don't you want to develop the skill set so that you don't fuck stuff up? That's what I want to do. That's the fireman I want.
Mm-hmm. I preface my guys because the truck we're getting, it's going to come with those jack cameras for that one set of outriggers. And I told the guys, hey, we'll use that in training. We'll use that to train up the new guy until his confidence gets up there. I said, but we are not going to become reliant upon these. We'll use those in a tight situation where maybe everybody had to bail out for something else. I don't know. But in general, this is not going to, I'm not going to allow these cameras to replace and take away from the skill set. It's not. So you have to fight technology sometimes. I mean, thermal imaging cameras, right? I mean, lightweight hose. That is us. We whined and we cried about lightweight hose because cotton jack was too heavy. And so the manufacturers literally went so far, the paradigm went so far the other way, okay, that now we have, not anymore so much because we're coming back to the middle, but we had all this burn through. When wait, what the hell? Why a hot railing burn through the hose? Like that's all it took. Well, that never happened before with cotton jacket. So I mean, we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah, I mean, I can take it one further and go with LA City, right? We put 3 transverse beds, 500 feet an inch, 400 feet an inch and a half with a 125 nozzle on it. That stays. It's a steady flow, 125 GPMs if you're pumping the correct pressure, and then a 200 GPM 1.75 line. That 1.5 line is for larger grass and, brush fires as a trunk line. Usually the inch is the one that we do the main attack with. But now they're using this 1.5 line that when I came on the job, that's all we had. It was a 90 GPM nozzle. And now we've got it bumped up to 100.25. But we have this 1.75 that they said to us, look at this bitchin' line we got for you guys. It puts out 200 GPMs. Now you tell me, what line would you pick for a house fire? And I think in LA City, we have basically shit the bed because we're allowing these guys to go into these fires now, and they pick this 1.5 line at nauseum. And I'm going,
well, Mark, why is that?
So I know what it is. It's the company officer. It's the driver that's driving that engine. It's the fireman on that rig not going, this is the standard. It's been set. They put this on here for our safety. Because I tell guys all the time, because they want to argue about it, and I go, here's your argument. You can't push more water out of that 125 GPM nozzle. I can't make it go to 200. I can't. I don't give a fuck what you pump, how big the main, I can't do it. But I can certainly gate down that 1.75 nozzle to a lower flow. I'm sitting there just going, and it's for every fire I see these guys going to, it seems like 90% of them commercial fire, 1.5 inch. And it's like, do you know how hard they fought to get this 200 GPM line for us?
Well, I do that, right? Because I mentioned 1710 last show about, packing, got more guys on 3 rigs arriving than fewer guys on 7 rigs arriving, and the amount of work you can. I'm pretty sure it's the same NFPA that talks about the first 2 lines equaling 300 GPM at a 2-story home, 2,000 square feet or something, right? And so what you're talking about is firemen taking ease, what's physically easy,
yes,
over their own damn safety and having adequate fire flow, and that's.
And you know what?
I guess we shouldn't be surprised, right? That's human nature.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? The argument consistently is it's more maneuverable. So I asked, like my mom said to me one time when I came home and told her, hey, Mom, you got to stop smoking. She goes, oh, big pussy fireman, huh? Gets that little smoke. So now I'm equating that to, does that mean that you can't handle that fucking 1.75 line?
A quarter inch.
Are you maybe in the wrong job?
A quarter inch.
It was built for your safety. Some technology is definitely worked at it. And that's the case for me. It's like, and there's nothing that says, absolutely, which blows me away. I had a buddy go to a fire a couple of weeks ago, and the first in rig pulled an 1.5 line in a 2-story house. It's just going like one end to the other. He crawls in as his backup line, bring an 1.75 inch, and he gets to the nozzle man about 4 feet in the door, and he goes, it's so flipping hot. The nozzle man goes, I got to get out. Well, guess what he didn't have on? His fucking hood, right? So he didn't have his hood on. He backs out, and Craig goes, this is a loser. We're going to go around back, because he took a 360 as a second-in company, took a look, and he goes, we're going to go around back and take our 1.75 line. But I'm going, could you imagine you 2 guys flowing your 2.75 lines at that door for 2 minutes? 400 GPMs. You're going to make it tenable. You are. But because of a bad choice on the very first line, and that's what I'm saying, the captains, the chiefs, how are you guys watching this and not stepping in? You'll step in and tell me my boots ain't black, my fucking shirt ain't blue. You'll do all that bullshit, but something that'll hurt somebody, you won't take that person out and say to them, at a minimum, this is my expectation.
Absolutely.
All things created equal, because we lay lines going into fires, at least we used to. I would never want to see that primary line, that 1.5 inch line off when you've laid a line and you got the water, that yellow line's going to be off, or you and I are going to have a fucking problem. It's like, how the fuck can you can't circle a square? It's like, and that's what pisses me off when I'm seeing this shit and going, you can make up 1,000 excuses, and every single one of them I'll beat the shit out of you on, because your excuses are useless. You're being lazy, complacent, and you're going to hurt somebody.
Yep.
What else, Cam?
Just touching back on that raised cab, but for the engine, right? I think the same thing does for the engine is that, hey, if I raise that cab and I'm bringing that deck gun towards the front of the engine, now I've got another 18 inches to contend with, especially, these, when we went off about these electronic deck guns that they're talking about, but even bringing that manual deck gun around, I got to bring that thing up 18 inches to get over that cab now. For what reason? Again, just for the comfort or whatever, the guys in the back.
While you're mentioning that wagon battery, that deck gun, something that's been going on, I've noticed, is, you have obviously your pump panel lever to open up that flow on that deck gun. And we used to always have the one at the top right next to the deck gun you pull up, right, to open up the flow and let that thing start ripping, start unleashing a lot of water. Again, I don't know why or when exactly started happening, but now I see engine companies they're removing the lever on top. Why are you doing that? I don't know what the reason is. I don't know. To fit more foam in that trough? I don't know, but why are you eliminating your ability to one man engineer or whoever operate that stang, that deck gun, that wagon battery, when you have no one else there, and that fire where that crew is now stretching the line into, something went haywire in the backyard, a propane tank blew, and now the second house is on fire. Why are you eliminating that option for us tactically, to make a positive change on this fire? Now the guy's got to run up, aim it right, hope he's in the right aim, come back down, right? Okay, rev RPM up and hope, run up there real quick and hope that he's not knocking somebody out, or it just doesn't make sense. It's kind of in line with not manning the ladder pipe, right? It's unacceptable. We need to man the ladder pipe. So why are you removing the ability for this staying that deck gun to be operated by one person, the engineer who can do it all? If you provide him the shut off topside on the engine, that's something else that's been removed. And I don't know. It's not a smart thing in my opinion. But again, I'm looking for, there must have been a reason. So what was the reason? Please DM us. Tell us why you did it.
Well, you're talking about heights of things, and look down the sides of these engines now. We used to be able to pull hose right over the side rail and go forward of the rig. You can't do that now. Those side compartments are so high now, that also becomes an issue with that deck gun. And then also hose bed heights. I used to be able to reach up from the ground and grab that 2.5 or that 4-inch on the rear of this thing. And I'm not making fun of people that are on the job now, but it seems like it's going to the kind of the vertically challenged. There's a lot of people that are very short, and not knocking you. There's some good fucking firemen I know that are short guys, but I'm just going as a whole. Why are we creating issues? We won't let them ride the tailboard. And now we go for the exact opposite and go, well, now you can't do anything from the ground. So now you got to step up every time you want to do something, and then step back down. And those heights are crazy, right? And I'm looking going, who the hell's doing the spec? Again, you can put 20 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bowl. That doesn't mean you're going to use 20 pounds of it.
I will tell you right now, Mark, some of the reasons for these hose beds becoming so tall. I'm 6'4" and I still got to step up. I should not have to step up on a step to pull line. That's why.
Yeah.
2 reasons that I know of. One, you said it, right? We're doing hazmat, C-burn, hostile MCI,
backboards,
surgery, right? We're no longer paramedic. Now we're surgeons on scene. What else? Tech rescue. It's a quasi heavy rescue / engine company. And so now we got to make the compartment space, which what gives? What's that? What sacrifice? Hose beds in the height of it. Again, it doesn't say any of that other stuff on the badge, but I digress. The other part to this, which we don't realize until you start finding, not talking to you, the mechanics. Again, I'm going back to the mechanics and their input. I come from a place where the chief mechanic he ran the apparatus committee. And one of the things why these engines that I saw got so tall was due to the suspension. And why the suspension was built up so much is because the intake was so low on the engine from, say, Pierce, that he was so afraid of getting water in the intake during the rainy season or a flooding that he's like, you know what? We're not even gonna deal with the chance of that. Oh yeah. Oh, hear me out.
The air intake?
I'm gonna turn the rig into a damn 4x4. I'm gonna get that air intake so high up, and I minimize the risk of water into the intake, because we all know what'll happen when that happens. So there's that side of it. How about work with the manufacturer to get the air intake come out higher? Like some of the Pierce, the older rig, it came out, literally went up and it came out between the captain and the firefighter seat. Like it was that haul it'd be the B post.
Yeah, that's where ours are. Ours
No,
are still spec that way.
No. The Quantum, for a while there, the intake was so damn low. It's like,
Wow.
and I can't help but wonder, was that another technique maneuver by the manufacturer to make us pay more for the, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but follow the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of times the manufacturer, like we said in the last episode, is driving the changes instead of the firemen.
Absolutely.
And the guys are just latching onto that. The access ladder to even get to the rear hose bed is common now in a lot. So not even jumping up on the tailboard just to get your hose. You're going to have to get on the access ladder to get that thing down.
I haven't seen that yet, so maybe I'm out.
Yeah.
And then the other part with the cross lays is the trend to go to these enclosed cross lays. I'm not a fan.
What do you mean by enclosed, Cam?
They're actually behind a door instead of being up on top.
Yeah.
Right,
that's that puck.
Yeah. Yep. That one has it, but I've seen other manufacturers do it too now. Jump up.
Well, so that's an option. To my knowledge, you can get a net, or you can get this roll down door.
Yep, and add a step in there.
Yeah.
Then plus just reloading them, right? You're gonna have to take off this tray, put on 200 feet 1 3/4, pick the tray up, push the tray in place, reconnect it to the discharge.
Talk about counterintuitive, right?
We see my hackle Koji companies. We have those engines. Our newest fleet of engines are pucks, and they have that tray. The only benefit, the tray is pretty easy. Have you used those trays, Cam?
Yep.
I would say the tray is easy, fairly easy. It's not fun lifting the whole damn thing up and trying to put it in there, but it has lowered the cross lay, the transverse bed, to now back at, chest height, which is nice. But I am in agreement with you. It seems unnecessary, but this is, again, the molestation of design is just like, man, it's wild.
Yeah.
And all this stuff costs money. Every time, you make these changes, they're just, you're talking about, I saw it today, Mark, you talked about the congressional calling out of the apparatus manufacturers. Again, we create these too, though. We're firemen are responsible. Partially.
Well, when they come along and basically create the monopoly that you can't do in the United States, right? Quasi, and put these small manufacturers out of business, and then, okay, it's time to order a rig. And you come up and go, okay, here's our spec, and they fucking sitting there licking their chops, and they got their fucking little bib on, ready to eat your fucking steak dinner, and they're like, okay, we'll tell you what you can have, and if you don't like it, take a fucking hike. And I hate to say it, that's what it seems like, and I know on my job there's been fucking buy-offs, hey, to go out and do the apparatus spec or check where they're at in the build turns into fucking wine and dine into the fucking titty bar. And it's like, that's bullshit, right? I mean, and we know it. It's no fucking secret. That's what happens. Guys are going out there and they're not fucking going, hey, where are we at on this fucking thing? And when are we going to get it? And did you follow my spec? And hey, don't worry about that. We're going to go have steak and lobster and, whatever the fucking drinks are on us. It's like,
stripper glitter will
yeah,
not allow you to see through the nonsense.
Yep.
What was there was an article on the Fire Apparatus magazine years ago. It said, is your apparatus committee bringing their golf clubs or their measuring tape?
Yep.
That's, but I think it's a pretty well-known fact that the apparatus manufacturers are by far they're the biggest lobbying group of the fire service. So, I mean, they spend the most money distracting you with glitter and lights and no, look over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Roll down doors over actually opening doors. I mean, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. Guys complain about roll down doors, durability and being able to resist the amount of equipment stored in there, but that's a compartment space issue, I think. I like when you're really trying to fit rigs in the front of a tight spot, going straight up versus opening. Those are beneficial. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but nonetheless, it's a spec.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the albatross that is your experience, Cam, with the 107-foot single axle Pierce Ascendant?
I don't know if we touched on that last time.
No, we didn't. I'm asking, first of all, can we disclaim or myth bust that, you can get 107 feet in any direction at any angle?
Yeah, no, you definitely can't because it's limiting
So it's Barry Bonds, right? It's Barry Bonds. I need to put an asterisk on that.
Yeah. You're limited by your reach over certain spots, especially towards the front because all your stabilizers are in the rear. And so once you go to the front, it's going to shorten your aerial up quite a bit. It'll actually bring it back itself, right? The computer will bring it back if you try to swing it over that way at full extension. It just won't let you do it. So
Coming down to the fire service.
yeah.
We bought some of those. Regardless of my email I sent, we still bought some.
Yeah.
And there's no lemon clause. And these firemen at those stations have to offload the ground ladders, all of them, because, you can't necessarily forecast what you're going to need.
Yeah.
They quickly offload the ground ladders. You know where I'm going with this, Cat?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead and take it from there, buddy.
Well, it just lifts that rear end so high because you have to get that thing to go. You have to level assist it. At least all of them that I've seen, you have to level assist the stabilization, and so it lifts the rear tremendously high, which makes two things really difficult. One, it doesn't have that traditional torque box where you put your ladders in; they're put in those compartments, and so it forces you to have shorter ladders, like a 3-section 35 instead of a 2-section 35, and now they're way up high that you're having to reach once that thing's stabilized. And two, to load the turntable, it's tremendously high too if you haven't already preloaded it.
Furthermore, our guys found out that when that rig, because it gets, like you said, jacked up so high off that rear blind jack from the computer, the chassis, I should say the ladder tunnel, bent, and it grabbed and locked on to the 35 that you couldn't pull it out. There is literally a deformation or distortion of the ladder tunnel, that sheet metal, due to the front motor and cab being on the ground and this bunk. So you can see where it grabbed a hold in that action and the guys couldn't even get the 35 out. Yeah. I think anybody, firefighters out there, apparatus committee, considering speccing a rig, if the rig requires the computer to fix the positioning when you're in the green on the bubble, you should probably stay away from that rig. My 2 cents.
Yeah.
If it requires the computer to override and they want to make it sound pretty, auto level the rig when the bubbles are still in the green, is that it? That doesn't make sense. That'd be a red flag for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't need a computer when my rig, front inclination and side to side, are still in the green. Why does my rig require a computer to make sure that I can get this aerial out of the cradle? That don't make sense to me, right? I mean,
Well,
fly-by-wire controls over traditional hydraulic. Can't stand fly-by-wire.
Can't get away from it now.
Now you can't get away from it. I really hope somebody can flex on the apparatus manufacturer, because the delay in that sucks. Yeah. You got to yank the joystick back to stop the ladder from going. So it's good. What I mean by fly-by-wire, for those that don't know, is, the controls are now electronic. It's electronic signal down to hydraulic instead of it just being all hydraulic. It's not very friendly for, close quarters work.
Yeah, not as smooth as it was.
No.
Well, I would say probably also, I mean, looking at the grand scheme of things, let's go right back to how much more are you paying for that? I'm adding a step in here. I'm adding a piece of equipment in here that I know electronics tend to go bad a lot more than just hydraulics do. So what's going to happen? Sooner or later, I'm going to have to, if I don't have my own in-house, that's going to be a cost. It's going to be a cost that you have to figure into this apparatus. It's like the more bells and whistles you put on it, the more ability I think that you have of something going wrong.
Well, you've mentioned cost, Mark, but there's the other C word is complication. It just doesn't need to be that complicated. Every time these manufacturers do things to add cost to the rig, they seem to make it more complicated to use.
Yeah.
I
found that from my mechanic, when we went from La France to up to this Pierce, and he goes, 0 training. Here it is. You guys got him. Right. And it's like, it's a different animal. From 2009 till 2016, we had a 7-year span before we picked up a new TDA, and this thing comes out and it's completely different. And those guys, but hey, fix it. Okay, that's bitching, but fix what? How do I fix it? And that's, again, that's the department. That's the people that are in charge. That's your mechanics area. Those guys got to go, hey, enough's enough. Take our people and train them so they're not showing up going, I'm in the same spot as you. I don't know what the hell to start with. I mean, we're looking to those guys and my guy that I had, my mechanic was an amazing guy. We did brake jobs out in the side yard, all that shit. It didn't have to go to a shop. But they're cutting these guys' hands, same thing, right? That, oh no, you can't do that because then the lazy ass that sits over here, he looks bad. So we can't make that fucker look bad. So you guys stop doing that shit. And it's like, fuck, could you imagine? Hey, you cut holes too good. That shitty cutter right there. So stop with that good hole cutting shit. You put water on the fire too efficiently. Stop that. You're making the other guys look like fucking fools. It's like,
you can only go as fast as the slowest person.
Well, on your company.
That's what they want. That's what
on your company.
Yes, across the board. It's funny you mentioned that because fire departments don't want to fund the mechanics division.
I know that.
Anytime the fire chief gets some capital funding, is he going to build a fire station or is he going to expand the mechanics division? Right? I mean, it's going to catch hell if you have mechanics over a new station. But at some point, come on, fellas, we gotta bite the bullet and we gotta fund these other support staff.
Well, you got to remember, right? They keep the rubber meeting the road. End of fucking story. So none of that other shit exists unless that rig can roll out of those fucking fire stations.
I mean, it's the same argument, right? For, hey, Colin, am I going to put a truck company in service or am I going to put an engine that'll rescue, an RA in service? Well, at some point, Chief, you got to bite the bullet, man. I mean, they're different roles, but they're all needed. Yeah. And the further you prolong and don't do it, the harder it is and the worse the situation gets. So, I mean, what are your priorities in coverage? But anyways, we're getting way.
Yeah, that's another class or another subject.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
I'd like to talk about, and I know we're bouncing from engine to truck, but something that I don't think a lot of folks understand they can do is understand your aerial apparatus footprint, how much space full jack deployment takes up in the front of that building. Mm-hmm. Make sure that rig can short jack. If a rig can't short jack because of computer overriding the green, then what are you doing? Because there's got to come a time when you're going to need to do that. We're not talking about an every time. We're talking about a time. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, know what those measurements are. And can you, because say the jack spread for your districts, or you end up running into consistent issues with full jack deployment on both sides. We're just going to throw that scenario. Man, it takes up a lot of space. It's 19 feet across, whatever it is. Total jack spread and chassis width. But if you can minimize your tip load from 750 to 500, you can minimize your jack spread 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need 750 feet on the tip load? I don't think we do. If you're making a rescue, that's a 200, we'll call it a 250 and a 250. I mean, let's be realistic here. And obviously there's redundancies and overkill built into these systems. So if you need to lessen your footprint because of your district being so tight, talk to your manufacturer about that. You can get away with it. You can, right? It's going to require tip load reduction from 750 to 500. But when you're going from 18 feet to, 14 feet or whatever it is, I don't remember the numbers, but it's considerable. So something to
See, but think about that. So that's another thing that comes in, because when I went from an LTI, which is a 16-foot spread, and then I got a La France that had the lockout cylinders, bitchingest thing ever. And mine were in the jack banks. Now they do a fucking, Pierce goes to this emergency brake like thing. And it's like, why are we fucking these things up again and adding a step? But going back to that 14-foot jack spread, 500-pound tip load. Fuck, how bitch
was that, Mark? Was that inline jacks or offset?
They're offset.
There you go. That's the offset is like the same thing as you said. If you don't minimize tip,
It's 14 fucking, it's 14 feet. And it's like, man, it was like a godsend in that district, right? It shortens up your fucking jacks, allows you to drift over to the offside more whenever possible. It just does so many things to allow that operator. And I'm going, why isn't that a standard? Why isn't 14 feet a standard? You could throw a 2,000-pound tip load on that thing. And I'm asking, why the hell is there 2,000 pounds on the end of that aerial? It's not a fucking crane. Stop the bullshit. It needs to do what I need it to do very well, right? And that is get people up to the top, kiss the building whenever possible. Sometimes I get it. You can't do that. But that's a guy that, again, I'll go back to the training and the control thing, right? If you see guys bunching up at the end and you don't have this thing supported, isn't that on the operator to go, hey, spread out 10 feet, let that guy get up to the middle of that section before you start going up? It's the firemanship of what we're talking about. And that is learn the apparatus, know your area, know the kind of throws you have. And lastly, be the guy that controls that shit. And we say it all the time, control what you can control. Because once it leaves and you get to the fire I can't control. All the shit that leads up to it and the operation that I bring to that is what I can control. Right? So those are guys that have to go, hey, how can I be the best operator I can be, whether I'm operating a pump or an aerial ladder? That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and I think on the lines of controlling what you can control is the Spec committee. Just controlling, like, man, those steel slide-on plates are such a game changer as opposed to a composite or a steel plate that you just have to sit down and hope you got in the right spot.
Fireman should have patented that. You should have patented it.
Yeah,
Manufacturer would have had to buy it from, because now they're all doing it. It's,
yeah, especially on the tiller where you could slide that on. You don't have to run all the way around the trailer if it doesn't get put in the right spot. Man, you just throw them and sit them down.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the Ron Poe pill, right? That's an engineer's wet dream. Set it and forget it.
Yeah,
right. You're not gonna know two numbers when you're a fucking engineer. Hump 150, bake 350. That's the only two numbers you got to memorize. That's why I would never want to be an engineer. It's like I got way more numbers going on this fucking big head of mine.
I don't know if you guys see it, but in your areas, but definitely you can see it in suburbia. Where I'm at. Have you ever seen the turntable seat that they're putting in now at the
yes. And the joystick?
In the joystick, dude. The seat.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I haven't personally messed with the joystick.
Oh,
but I'm hearing the guys love it. Is that true? Is that?
I played with it a little bit in Texas.
If you're a gamer, you love it. If you're Gen Z, you don't. Is that what?
I don't like it. It's the same thing, right? Like with those controls.
Chair, dude.
I don't know what's with the chair.
Is this? You guys seen that movie WALL-E, the Disney movie?
That's what it is.
Where society becomes so fat they can't walk. Is that where we're headed? We need a chair because it's so physically tasking.
They by the time you get up there, you're exhausted. So, right?
Hey, well, we keep fighting our admin on PT standards, so maybe we do need the chair. I don't know.
You just taking up so much of that platform on that turntable with a
They
chair.
better start making the chairs big, because these boys are large.
Yeah, they got to get them a little wider.
Yeah.
I do believe I played with that in Texas in June. These guys got a new rig and we went down there, kind of advised them on, they bought a rig that fell out of the spec. So they, it was already done. Guy jumped on it, that the fire chief, and got down there, kind of played with it. It was interesting for me because I'm an old kind of brain and have 3 sticks. It moved very well.
What are you talking about, Mark? What kind of?
The joystick is so it was on
Oh.
a it was on a shit, not a Salisbury. What am I thinking? A Sutphen, is that what it is?
Duffin made TDA?
Shit, maybe it wasn't. Shit.
Was it, what's the R?
Rosenberg.
Yes, that's what it was. It was Rosenbauer. That's what it was. Right. And it was, I could see that it was, you'd have to get used to it, right? If you've never used it. But I still have that in my mind, is when you allow somebody to do so many operations, right? That you can see that it could get, maybe the operation could get ahead of the brain of the operator.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that I mean, it's like, I had it down. I know I had a high and low idle switch. I knew when to hit my thing in the low idle, just all these things that I got to do. And now I'm looking at this and going, hey, maybe the learning curve, if that's the only thing, but then I always ask, it seems like the older rigs still have these things. So again, are we developing a skill set so that now when we get into a reserve rig, we go back and go, oh shit, I've never used this. How the fuck do I use it? Right. And
About the fact that you talk about you got multiple movements there. How do you troubleshoot which movement messed up when it? I mean, I like a clear delineation
yes. Right.
in aerial ladder movement. But again, I never use the thing. You use it in your
Yes. Is that on your rig, Cameron? Is your new rigs have that?
No.
Good for you guys, man. Because I only see an issue. It seems like it's very fast. And the dead man is actually built into the handle, so you have to pull that so you don't have a foot dead man, which I don't like that, because I think, again, now a guy gets done to that and he goes, okay, we're in the reserve rig. Okay, how do I go back to that? Now I got to coordinate. Remember, it's always foot beforehand. And just everything right here, just to me, it seems like, and again, maybe I'm just being old fashioned and stupid and going, but I could just see issues arising because of that.
How do you guys feel about that dead man pedal versus that joystick dead man? You got to pull up. Have you not dealt with those?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I like the pedal, man.
I've dealt with both. I don't have a preference really.
Well, see, on the old Seagraves, you pushed down, and once you pushed down, it unlocked it. So now you were able to operate.
I don't
Right?
like
So that was again, when you go back and go, hey, what was the safety of it? The problem became, if that thing wasn't disengaged and somebody's going up and they got hooks on their shoulder or something that it grabs a handle, it was a live handle. The beauty of having that foot dead man is, even if that guy leaves that pedestal cover open, you could ram 10,000 things against that and nothing's going to happen because nobody energized it. But
Right.
then you get the idiots that would hit the override in the morning as their preset, so they never had to hit the fucking dead man because they short jack all the time. And it's like, hey, dude, you're setting yourself up, and then you're not smart enough to close the cover. Again, I go back and just go, I've seen all this shit happen when guys want to take a shortcut, and it always seems to come back and bite them in the ass because they didn't think about what happens when just one thing doesn't go right. And I would say that foot pedal is the key to it. It's probably the safest, smartest operation you can use. And to me, again, I'm going to go with 3 sticks. I like the 3 sticks.
Me too. I like.
Wherever you touch, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Anything else that we didn't touch on today that you guys are thinking
Don't let them shortchange you with the HVAC unit,
in Las Vegas, especially?
especially. But if you got heat, don't let them shortchange you on the HVAC unit. And something to, when you're battling, money. One thing that a department did, a loophole, and they used it to their advantage, was, everybody's got these narcotics in the rig now and these safes. This department they were up against it, and they didn't want to fund the more expensive RV, HVAC. Well, they said, okay, well, you know what? Our narcotics need to stay at a certain temperature. And in that barn sitting out there, they don't. They're losing potency because they're getting overheated. not to say it wasn't a lie, but they also, they used that and they ended up upgrading to an HVAC unit. So I'm just putting it out there to the universe, the fire service universe. Hey, if that helped you get bigger HVAC units so you can stay cool. I mean, that whole acclimation thing that everyone talks about, get acclimated, start training. If your body core temperature is already starting off hot, there's no acclimating. Once you reach
Bad news.
hot, you're hot.
So basically what you're saying is
you're cool in the barn. Man, we're starting off on a good foot. What's that, Mark?
basically what you're saying is that yes, EMS is the driving force behind the fire service. Roger that.
Oh,
Thank you for clarifying.
son of a bitch. Yeah.
Thanks,
Man,
thanks for clarifying that for me. Right. Remember, the only thing I know about EMS is elevated master stream. That's what that fucking means. Keep that in mind.
That's all I got, unless you guys had something else you wanted to touch on.
No,
Riggs. All right.
We could go on.
I'm sure we'll get some
I would say this.
feedback, and
I would say when you're speccing your compartments, again, this all goes back to SOGs, right? And having a culture of how you operate on a given rig, engine versus truck. Hopefully you have that. And if you don't have that, well, this becomes a difficult argument, but spec your compartments so that the equipment you need for a given assignment or task is in one compartment as much as possible.
Yep.
I shouldn't have to go to 3 compartments to go to the roof.
Yep.
I mean, forcible entry, inside guy, whatever it is. So
yep,
be smart about it.
And in addition to that, it's in proximity to whoever's assignment that's going to be, right? So, hey, if I'm getting out and loading the turntable, the equipment to do that isn't at the back of the trailer. It's actually towards the front of the trailer, right? So I think that's a good point you made.
Well, I mean, a lot can be said. Like you said, the beauty of that TDA is there's usually space underneath that aerial ladder, right? And I will, if I'm going to throw out some things about spec, and I would say, if you use that ladder and it's 90% of your calls to go up to the fucking roof, mount a breather up there on top of that generator that's on, behind your turntable, forward, closer to the cab. There's one fucking thing that we learned, and it's like, man, it saves a bunch of time. Second thing is, mount a set of hooks underneath that aerial. Once that thing comes up, you don't have to bring the saws and all. There's a set of hooks ready to go. There's a lot of shortcuts you can do to make your job way easier so that you're not having to put a bunch of shit on there. And when the guys come back, they grab the 2 saws. That's all they load. There's 2 hooks sitting there. There's 2 saws. The operator's breather sitting up there. Once he lays that thing in, he steps back, puts his breather on. The first guy goes up with the hooks. I can tell you, it's like, there's a lot of things to be said for spec and a rig, and Colin mentions it. It's like, have you really thought about what you're trying to accomplish when you pull those brakes? That should be your number one reason for being, and the way that you set that rig up and go, hey, yeah, the chainsaw's in the back by the tillerman. That's fucking horse shit. We know it's horse shit.
And Mark, how do you carry those hooks up the aerial for good character? You carry them up here, or you carry them? Oh, not for character, but so that you don't actually catch them on the rung.
Oh yeah, I'll have to think about that because I don't have very good character. So,
but 2 things on what you said. I took a lot. We talked about these ladders that get up to access the pedestal, and if you don't have hooks set up and you're at an apartment that goes to the roof up via the aerial, I forced the hand of my company, and we have what we call a roof kit up on the diamond plate next to the pedestal, two rubbish hooks, so that I don't have to carry anything up to that regarding hooks, because I used to have to do that. And when you set that, when you hook that, right, you hook that pedestal railing so that you can climb the ladder, get up there. Well, the engineer or the operator moving on the pedestal unasked the hook, and I took a rubbish hook tine right to the face, blew my face open, going to the roof of a strip mall. Yeah, I got through the call, but I said, okay, this is done. This is nonsense. And so that's one reason, safety for yourself, because that shit will happen, convenience. But when they're making these pedestals smaller and smaller, they seem to be doing that. I mean, make everything user friendly for you as much as you can.
Good points. Good points. I think that's a good place to wrap up for today, guys.
Okay.
Like always, if you have comments or anything, throw them on the West Coast Offense page, the Gmail, or on the YouTube page, and we'll get to them. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Or we'll ignore them if they're stupid.
Yeah. We'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks.